The one thing that I think both of us have really realized is, especially teaching, I have a totally different perception of teaching kids now because I am a parent. Even though Maverick is at such a young age, I can see Maverick and the kids that I teach in front of me. And how I talk to them, how I interact with them is more like a parent would. And I also feel like that the parents now sitting at home having to do this virtual hybrid thing, they're seeing the same thing with teachers. So we're starting to see, well, teachers are starting to see what parents go through. Parents are starting to see a little bit what teachers go through and vice versa all the time. But it's understanding that these experiences that you're going through right now actually shape you to understand each other a little bit more and have empathy for each other. And I think if we focus on that, like you said just a second ago, focus on the best of intentions on, hey, this person is doing the best that they can for their child because they love their child. And the same thing for teachers. The teachers are doing the best that they can for these kids because they want what's best for these kids because they genuinely love these kids. And that doesn't need some reprimand. We need more cheerleaders out there to lift each other up. And then when people ask for advice, maybe that's when we can lean in a little bit more. But you can't do that if you don't foster relationships with those people in the first place.
It's the all these cliche things, but that I think people say, oh, they're cliche, but they don't actually live by them. Don't judge until you've walked a mile in someone else's shoes. Like criticism comes from the cheapest seats because it's always from the people who want to criticize you, but are they actually investing in your child's life? And how are they doing so, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think that all of this, just open-mindedness, really leading with love, making decisions with love during this time specifically, and just recognizing that, again, you haven't walked the same path. You haven't walked the same life. You don't know every experience that is causing that educator or that parent to make that decision. And so I think this is so important as we do navigate this virtual learning experience, whether you're, and from both perspectives, from that of a parent, from that of an educator. Even when your child is on a virtual lesson with someone, even when they are with an educator, as a parent listening to that, listen, even if it's the worst lesson possible, you don't know what that educator put into creating that lesson, okay? So until you do, you don't want to sit there and make those kind of accusations and make those kind of statements about that teacher, like, man, well, no wonder you're laying down. No wonder you don't want to go to class. No wonder you're so tired. No wonder you don't want to, that doesn't seem fun at all. I wouldn't love that as a kid either. We have to stop that completely. And even if it wasn't the best lesson that you've ever seen, or even if it wasn't a lesson that would interest you, man, I love that Miss Smith, she got on today and she gave you all her energy. Wow, what an amazing opportunity that you have an educator that cares so much about you. It's reframing what we're saying. Listen, who was it? Our friend Morgan told us you can't control your first thought. But you can control your second, and you can certainly control what comes out of your mouth.
Right.
So I'm not saying that you're not going to have these thoughts as parents during this pandemic, right? This is true of what we think about our kids too. But I'm not saying you're not going to have these thoughts, but it's all about how you are reframing, because to your kid, that changes everything. Because if you're sitting here saying, oh yeah, that was a horrible lesson, I could see why you wouldn't want to. Every morning they're going to wake up doing what?
They're not going to want to get on. They're going to be
laying their head down with the blanket. Mom, Miss Smith is so boring. I don't want to be here. It's a bad attitude. You've got to fill it with positivity, and vice versa.
Yeah, with
teachers trying to understand that parents, we see you. We know that you're working from home. We know that you're trying to cook dinner, keep the house clean. You're trying to do your job. You've got multiple kids. You're trying to manage this new thing that you've never done before. So as the educators, know that we also are trying to assume the best in you. And that's where that true relationship is going to come, and how we're all going to be able to use both sides of experiences to develop this.
This is a great opportunity to get to know your child even more. We tell teachers all the time that there's probably a content area that you do not love to teach, but you cannot tell your kids, oh, I hate reading too, or I hate writing, but we just got to get through it, right? If you do that, you could potentially be limiting the next Stephen King inside of your classroom. And so the same goes for your child inside of your home. Maybe your child will love US history or whatever the content area is this year. To talk negatively about a teacher or a subject area is limiting the potential that your child may have. And we want to encourage you guys, focus on the positive, focus on what you can control. And those are the things that absolutely come out of your mouth.